أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين واللعن على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As we begin our fasting with the holy month of Ramadan, we begin with a new series of a few sessions, probably 29 or 30 sessions, as long as the holy month of Ramadan goes. And we'll be discussing the practical laws of the Sharia, the Islamic laws that are obligatory on each mukallaf to follow. Now, who is a mukallaf? A mukallaf is someone on whom the religious duties come upon. A person who is fit to perform the religious duties is known as a mukallaf, and the duty itself is known as taklif. Now, for example, on the day, during the daytime, probably at 12:10 in noon, what becomes obligatory on us? It becomes obligatory on us to say Salat al-Dhuhr, the Dhuhr prayers, and the Asr prayers, right? So this prayer becoming obligatory on us is known as taklif, and we are mukallaf. That means it's we who need to perform this duty. Now, what happens is that when a young boy or a young girl, he reaches the age of puberty, that means becomes fit to perform the religious duties, to perform the tasks that have been sent down by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through His holy Prophet and His holy household alayhimus salam, it becomes obligatory on that young boy or the young girl, as soon as he or she reaches the age of puberty, to perform those duties. Now, what are the signs of becoming an adult, or what are the signs of bulugh? How do we know that a young boy or a young girl has reached the age of puberty? How do we know that? If you refer to the Masail of Ayatollah al-Udhma As-Sayyid Ali Husseini As-Sistani, may Allah prolong his life, if you refer to it, he mentions four things. He mentions those four things that signify that a young boy or a young girl is now fit to perform the religious duties, and the duties will be accepted, and the person should not go against what has been asked to do. Now, what are those four things? The first of those is completing 15 lunar years. Lunar years meaning Hijri al-Qamari. That means according to Hijri, he should be 15 years of age, or the girl should be 9 years of age. Now, how much is that according to the other calendar? According to the other calendar, in boys it's 14 years, 7 months and 15 days. That means, according to the calendar that we follow here in India or other parts of the world, when a boy reaches the age of 14 years, 7 months and 15 days, he becomes baligh. And what about the girls? The girls, if they reach the age of 8 years and 8 months and 20 days, they become baligh. Because the 15 that is commonly known, 15 years in boys and 9 years in girls, that's according to the lunar calendar, not the calendar that we follow, right? So this is the first sign. The second sign is ejaculation. Now, what do we mean by that? That means discharge of semen from a male boy, and similarly in women, right? So this also makes the person baligh. The third thing that he mentions is that the growth, the third thing is the growth of pubic hair under the stomach. This is also the third sign of becoming baligh, of reaching the age of puberty. This is the third sign. And the fourth one is the growth of facial hair. Now these four signs, it's not meant to be, these four signs are not meant to be present at the same time, all of them be present at the same time. No. Even if one of them is found in a boy or a girl, one of them, if it's found, the boy, he becomes baligh. Now for example, if the hair that we discussed, the pubic hair or the facial hair, if a boy grows them at the age of 14, at the age of 14, even if he's not reached 14 years and 7 months, even 7 months, that means 7 months before that, he grows the pubic hair or the facial hair, he becomes baligh. It becomes obligatory on him to pray and to fast, and all other duties, they become obligatory on that boy. So what we need to say is, what we want to say is that these four things, they, if any of these four things come first, the person becomes baligh. It's not that that what's commonly known in our society, that he is not 15 years yet, and they calculate those 15 years with the calendar, not with the lunar calendar, but the calendar that we follow, right? So this is the first thing. Any one of these signs, if it's present, the person becomes baligh, whether he be a girl, whether he be a boy or she be a girl. So this is the first thing. Now when he becomes baligh or when she becomes baligh, what happens is that we know that every aspect of human life, each and every aspect, each and every task, each and every deed that we perform, everything has got a specific ruling. You cannot name a single task or a single deed performed by a human being that does not have a ruling in Islam. That means the Sharia, the laws, the Islamic laws that have been revealed upon the Holy Prophet, they are present in each and every aspect of one's life, whether it be fasting, whether it be praying, whether it be talking, whether it be walking, whether it be jumping, running, singing, dancing, anything you say, any act, any deed that a person performs, it has a specific rule. It has a specific rule in the Sharia. Now these rules, these rules are known as hukum, ahkam. Now these ahkam, they are of 5 types. The first one is wajib. Now what are wajib things? Wajib things are those things that are obligatory on a person to perform them. It's obligatory. That means you cannot miss them. You cannot intentionally just leave them and just don't go towards them. Like what? Like praying, the daily prayers, the prayers that we need to perform 5 times a day, those 17 rak'ah prayers, it's obligatory. That means it's wajib. All right. So this is something that's wajib. You cannot leave it. So this is these are known as obligatory things, like fasting in the month of Ramadan. Every person on the face of earth who is baligh, all right, who has one of those 4 signs that I mentioned, it's obligatory on that person today to fast, right? It's obligatory. He cannot miss it. He cannot miss it unless he be a traveler or he be prescribed by a doctor not to fast. So those are certain other masail and ahkam that will be mentioned later on. So this is the first thing, which is wajib, that means obligatory. The second thing is haram. What do you mean by that? That means those things, those acts, those deeds that are not to be performed, that one should refrain from them, one should stay away from those things. And if he goes towards those things, he will be a sinner. He will commit a sin if he goes towards those things. Like what? Like leaving the daily prayers, not praying, all right, not performing the obligatory acts, all right, like lying, all right, or like backbiting a mu'min, backbiting a believer, doing ghibah of a believer. These things, they are haram, they are prohibited. So this is the second type of ruling. The third type is mustahab. Mustahab means that they are recommended. It's recommended to perform them, although if you leave them, you will not be counted as a sinner. Like what? Like saying Dua al-Kumail on Thursday nights, or saying Salat al-Layl, which is the night prayer, Namaz-e-Shab. So these things, they are mustahab. Or fasting in the holy month of Sha'ban, fasting in the month of Rajab. It's not obligatory, it's mustahab. That means it's recommended. It's recommended. And if someone misses it, if someone does not perform these things, he will not be counted as a sinner. So this is the third type. The fourth type is makruh. Now what do we mean by that? Those deeds and those acts that are not recommended. The things that are not recommended. For example, praying, saying his prayers inside the bathroom, inside the hammam, as-salatu fil hammam. If someone wishes to say his prayers inside the bathroom, it's permissible, one can say, but it's makruh, it's not recommended to say prayers. Or fasting on the day of Ashura. It's not recommended to fast on the day of Ashura. Right? So this is the fourth thing. And the fifth thing is mubah. Mubah is something that, an act that is indifferent. That means it's permitted, but at the same time it's indifferent. That means whether you do it or you don't, it doesn't matter. Like what? Like talking. Now this talking should not be ghibah, this should not be backbiting, because lying and doing ghibah of a moment, doing ghibat or backbiting a moment is also talking, but this kind of talking is haram. The talking that we're talking about is the thing that we are discussing, all right, although what we are discussing is mustahab, and maybe one may call it wajib, because learning the masail of sharia, learning these day-to-day duties that one needs to perform, it's obligatory on a person to learn them, right? As we will be mentioning it afterwards. So these are the 5 kinds of laws, these are the 5 kinds of ahkam that these are the 5 duties that come upon a person who reaches the age of puberty, or who sees one of those 4 signs that have been mentioned earlier. Alright, so again revising them, the first one is wajib, that is obligatory. The second one haram, that means the things that are prohibited. The third one is mustahab, those acts that are recommended. And the fourth one is makruh, those acts that are not recommended. And the fifth one being mubah, that means they are permitted but they are indifferent, like sitting, walking, running. All right, these things, they are mubah. Now these are the laws. All right, these are the laws. Now while we discuss these things, because we're going to be discussing these things in probably a period of 30 days, all right, a series of 29-30 days, and obviously we will not be able to mention all the Islamic rulings in this short period of time within 25 or 30 minutes. So what we're going to be doing, and on the other hand, we've begun with the month of Ramadan, right? So what we're going to be doing is we will be discussing a few of the Islamic laws from the beginning of the Risala of Ayatollah al-Uzma Sayyid Ali Husseini al-Sistani, Hafidhahullah, may Allah prolong his life. And then we're going to be coming towards a few laws and a few duties concerning the holy month of Ramadan, right? So we're going to be dividing this 25-30 minutes in 20 minutes and 10 minutes. All right, and in the later part we're going to be discussing the rules regarding the holy month of Ramadan. So the first thing that becomes obligatory on a person as soon as he reaches the age of puberty is to do taqleed, is to follow a mujtahid. Now you might have heard that whoever becomes baligh, there are three things. One of these three things, they should be done. The first one is, as soon as the person becomes baligh, he should be a mujtahid by himself. That means at the age of 2 or 3 years, he should start learning, and obviously it's something that's not possible today, and we do not have such things that a person becoming mujtahid before reaching the age of puberty, but in a few stories that we hear from the previous scholars and ulama of our time. So the first thing is that the person becomes mujtahid by himself. A mujtahid is a person who is able to derive the Islamic laws from its authentic sources, from the Quran and Ahadith, right? So he should be a mujtahid by himself. This is the first thing. Or he should exercise precaution. That means he should perform all his duties according to ihtiyat. He should consider ihtiyat in every mas'ala. Now, what do we mean by that? Now, taking the example, for example, we've got 10 mujtahid, right? Now, this is the example how to act according to ihtiyat. A person is not a mujtahid, neither he is following a mujtahid. So what he should do is, he should consider ihtiyat, he should exercise precaution. How? This way. Now, for example, there are 10 mujtahid, right? Regarding a certain act, 5 of them say it's obligatory, and the other 5 say it's not obligatory, right? 5 of them say it's wajib, and the other 5, they say no, it's not wajib. This person who is exercising ihtiyat, he should perform that thing as wajib. He should take it as obligatory and perform it. Similarly, if 5 mujtahid, they say that a particular thing is haram, and the other 5, now this is an example, the other 5 say no, it's not haram. This person who is exercising ihtiyat, he should do what? He should act according to hurma. That means he should restrain from that thing. Why? Because this is what ihtiyat it deserves. A person exercising ihtiyat, this is what he should do. This is what he should act upon. Now, for example, while being a traveler, this is the third example and the last one probably. While being a traveler, for example, a certain marja says that here, when you reach a certain point while traveling, you must say your prayers complete. You must say the complete prayers. That means dhuhr prayers, you should say them 4 rak'ah. The other group of marja says, no, when you reach the certain point, the same point, you must say your prayers qasr. You must say your prayers qasr. That means performing those prayers 2 rak'at. Now, a person who is following the first group of marja will say his prayers 4 rak'at. The person following the second group of marja will say his prayers 2 rak'at, because this is what their fatwa says. But the person exercising ihtiyat will say his prayers twice. Once 4 rak'at, and the second time he will say the same prayers 2 rak'at. This is known as ihtiyat. Now, giving another example. Now, what I want to say is, in fact, I'll say it after giving the example. The fourth example, a group of marja says that on the day of on Friday, on the day of Jum'ah, Friday, it's obligatory for you to say the Friday prayers. The other group says no. On Friday, it's obligatory on you to say the dhuhr prayers, not the Friday prayers. So a person following the first group of marja will say the Friday prayers. A person following the second group of marja will say, one of the second group of marja will say the dhuhr prayers, and the person exercising ihtiyat on the day of Jum'ah, on Friday, will say both dhuhr and Jum'ah. Will say both the prayers. This is ihtiyat. Now ihtiyat is far more difficult than taqleed. So a person either be mujtahid by himself, so that he does not need to follow anyone, or he be muhtat. Muhtat, that means exercising ihtiyat. Or the third option is taqleed, which is the most easiest of the options. Now taqleed is not something strange. It's the same as one going to a doctor when our body it becomes unhealthy and it needs a treatment. What do? We refer to a doctor. Similarly, when our soul needs a treatment, when our soul needs guidance, what do? We refer to a mujtahid, we refer to a marja, so that because he is the most knowing scholar, he knows everything regarding our duties. I tell you, he knows everything regarding our duties. It's not that he is ma'soom or he's got ilm ladunni, but he can give you a fatwa, he can give you a duty for every aspect of your life. A mujtahid can give you a duty for every aspect of your life. This is what I mean when I say he knows everything. He's not, al-ayadhu billah, one of our infallible imams, al-ayadhu billah. But he knows what the duty is. So he tells you the duty, right? So this is known as taqleed. Now how do we know, how do we come to know that a certain person is a marja? How do we know that a certain person is a mujtahid so that we be able to follow? There are three ways. There are three ways of following a mujtahid. How to identify a mujtahid. The first way is of identifying a mujtahid, that a person be a scholar of a higher level, someone who is close to becoming a mujtahid. Alright? If someone is close, he's not a mujtahid, he's close to becoming a mujtahid, or he is a scholar of a higher level, in a way that he be able to distinguish between a mujtahid and a non-mujtahid. If a person is if a person has such kind of knowledge, he can identify a mujtahid from a non-mujtahid. This is the first thing. That means if I want to identify that for example, that person is he a mujtahid or not, I should be a scholar of a higher level. I should be someone who is close to be a mujtahid, so that I be able to identify the mujtahid. This is the first way of finding a mujtahid, of identifying a mujtahid. The second way is that that you refer to such scholars, you refer to two such scholars and ask them, who should I follow? Who is a mujtahid? Who is a marja? And those two scholars, if they say that a certain person is a mujtahid, then you will take their opinion, with a condition that two other such scholars of that means two such scholars should not contradict their views. Now for example, regarding a certain person, I want to identify that is this person a mujtahid, I want to follow him. Can I follow him? Can I do taqleed of this person? What should we do? We will be asking two people, two scholars, all right, two scholars who are able to identify a mujtahid. We're going to be asking them, and if they say yes, then we will accept their opinion, with a condition that two other scholars do not contradict their views. All right? So this is the second thing. The third thing is that a group of such scholars, a person be popular among a group of scholars, that a certain person is fit to be followed, is fit to be to do his taqleed. That means we can do his taqleed, we can follow him in performing our day-to-day duties. Now these are the 5 ways of performing, these are the 5 ways of identifying a mujtahid from a non-mujtahid, right? Now coming to the later part of our session, which is the laws regarding to the holy month of Ramadan. The first thing that becomes obligatory on the first day of Ramadan is that a person should intend the fast of Ramadan. That is, making niyyah, is to do niyat. Alright, niyat is the first obligatory thing. Without niyat, if a person stays hungry and stays thirsty for a complete day, this will not be counted as a fast. It will not be counted as sawm. It will not be counted as roza. Right? So the first thing is niyyah. Now this intention or this niyyah, how should it be done? How should we perform the niyyah? Is it obligatory to say it? Is it obligatory to utter these words that before the morning prayers, before the call for the morning prayers, that means before the adhan of the morning prayers, one should say that I will restrain or I will restrict myself from eating and drinking and all other activities that are not allowed for a fasting person. Qurbatan ilallah, wajib qurbatan ilallah. Is it obligatory to utter these words? No, it's not. It's not obligatory to utter these words. This is the first thing. But only keeping in mind that, now for example, a person waking up at 3 in the morning and having his breakfast. Now what do we call something that we eat 3 in the morning? Is it known as breakfast? Anyways, so eating at 3 in the morning during the sahar time, all right, before the morning prayers. Now why do we do that? This says because in normal days we don't do it, all right. In normal days we have our breakfast after the morning prayers. Now what's the point in having one's breakfast before the morning prayers? Now this is the intention, that I woke up with the intention of fasting, and that's the reason I'm eating before the morning prayer, so that I be able to fast the complete day. So this is the first mas'ala, which is regarding the intention or the niyyah of the prayer of fasting. That it's not obligatory to utter it, it's not obligatory to say those words, but saying or keeping this thing in mind, that I am fasting, which is obligatory upon me from the side of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the complete month of Ramadan. If I am not, that means if I am well and I'm not a traveler, so that is what is known as niyyah, that's what is known as the intention. So this is all for today, and inshallah we'll see you in the next session. هذا وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.